Yeah.
All right, welcome everyone. This is a soul conversation with wisdom keepers. And I am welcoming into this circle our amazing healers, critics, midwives, psychics. It's almost a reminder of a joke, when a psychic, a healer, and a midwife walking into a bar. What happens? Let's see. But let me introduce you to these beautiful women who I got the joy to get to know. And I'm going to give a shout out to Evolving Sisterhood Network. That's where we come from. So if you want to check that out, do it, Google it, you'll find the links. And that's where these women meet and hang out. Um, I'm gonna switch the language for some reason, shows me Dutch, but we are here speaking English. Here you go, AI, please recognize us. But let me introduce to the introduction one by one. Rosita Rijkland is a dedicated trauma release facilitator. Born in Suriname, South America, to a lineage of shamans and healers, Rosita embodies the wisdom of her ancestors to support the multi-generational healing journey in the middle world. Welcome, Rosita. Thank you for joining
So
us.
much,
Thank
Vika.
you.
Beautiful to have you. Lori Creevay is a psychic guide who has mentored thousands of people over 30 years to achieve greater alignment with their intuition through psychic development. Welcome, Lori. And Lori is joining us from Sedona. Is that
Thank
right?
you.
I'm presently in San Diego because I'm traveling, but I do live in Sedona. Yeah.
Yay, welcome, Lori. And Sandi Melland is a critic of experiences, spiritual life coach, entrepreneur, artist, wise woman, and wild walker. After living off grid and sailing for over 15 years in the Pacific Ocean, Sandy brings a beautiful tapestry of women's stories and songs from her journeys to the Sacred Valley as she builds an off grid sustainability community. Welcome, Sandy. Where are you joining us from?
Hello.
Hello, I'm coming from Washington State.
Yay! And I welcome you from the land of my ancestors in Russia. This is
Ah,
where I'm currently instead with living this my nomadic life. All right, let's dive in. So the first question I want to address, and we talked a little bit about it before we join everybody live, and I ask the question: Did you dream of it? Did you dream of this life? Did you like get up at 7 years old, went to your parents and said, "I'm going to be a healer. This is what I'm going to be." Right? And I know that's definitely not the story for me. That was not my choice. I'm from a very analytical family, very analytical oriented, math-based class, math school, business degree. That's very different from what I do right now. Maybe not that different. That's part of the story, right? The part of the journey. I want to ask each one of you, what was the turning point for you that helped you trust your intuition to step onto this path? And what changed for you in your relationship with yourself and with the world around you? And whoever wants to pick up this question first, I would welcome you to do that.
Yeah.
Wow. If I may go first, what triggered me was actually coming into a depression.
Mm.
And not knowing it was a depression, but not feeling well, not feeling good, just feeling invisible, being invisible for the outside world, knowing that I need to go inside to find my answers. I started off by going to a psychologist, and I actually got triggered by the luggage that I saw this psychologist had. And then I knew I have to do this myself.
Mm.
That is how it started for me. So I started my journey by buying a lot of books, trying to read, trying to go inside, which of course with reading is not going to work completely. So I needed to find my ways to open up myself to go inside. So it started with Reiki. I needed to do something. I needed to go inside and I needed to actually draw in the energy for me to be able to go inside. So that's where it actually started for me. So the depression was my, how do you call that? Was actually the signal for me to know that I needed to go inside, because the answers that I was looking for and the pain I was feeling, and also the sorrow and the anger, because I was very, very angry. And I didn't know why. The only thing that I knew that it was triggered by my father.
Mm.
So that he played an important role by his absence. And because of that, I knew I had to find those answers within me, because I was not going to get the answers from him.
Yeah.
Because I had a lot of questions. And that actually triggered a lot of more stories that started to come up in my system that I needed to learn how to listen to, and also know that it was not my fault, but I was really being triggered, and I was, as I say, lovingly but firmly pushed by my ancestors to come on this path.
Mm. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to say that how much I resonate with that. And I want to just ask everyone in the audience that that's such an important point for us to feel, that so many of us just step on this path, on the path of healing from the darker place. And I want to say, like, I'm one of them, but how many of you felt that down moment, that depression, that anxiety that changed things for you? And I want us to say that out loud, so we don't feel that disconnected and that isolated in our suffering, because it's such a common thing to be there and feel the darkness of the moment, and this bravery to come from that point into the other side and feel like this is the beginning of my healing journey.
Yeah.
I can truly resonate with it. So thank you so much for that. Lori, please.
Wow. um, just you asking the question, Vika, and then when Rosita just shared, like I am holding back, like it's like a flood of tears. And it was like I went back to that moment. And it was a moment that was a culmination of obviously a lifetime of pain and things. But I too, I didn't identify it as depression because I was so avoiding it with everything, drugs, alcohol, every kind of thing possible. And until I purposely overdosed. And I realized, like, I went back when I was going through my journey, my healing journey, and I realized I had suicidal ideation since about 3 years old. I remember trying to do something even then, try to end me. And I had a series of events happen that caused me to finally just go, I'm done. And it was so quiet. It was such a quiet decision doing, attempting the suicide. And I was successful to the point where they had to they revived me. And when they did, that was my door. Cry. That was my doorway. And it's the greatest gift that ever happened to me. And it was the most painful circumstances that led to that. And to be honest, like when you say, did you know you're going to do this when you're a kid? It's like, no, I just wanted to survive. What little bit in me wanted to survive when I wasn't feeling suicidal, right? And then to add to it, what I was doing at the time of the suicide attempt is I was a singer in a band, but I was also a comedian, and I was making fun of spiritual things. That's kind of what I did. And then when I went through this doorway, I just started seeing beings beyond the veil. Getting, I'm getting mascara running down my face, which is good. It's I started seeing my guide standing in my living room, and I didn't know what to do with this. And I finally got sober. It was like a year sober, and there's a Native American chief in my living room with a wolf, and I kept, or like down the hallway. And I asked my friend who was also sober, I said, "What do you see in the hallway?" She goes, "Yes, this Native American chief. He's got like a wolf or a dog with him." And when I beckoned, he came in, and I was like, "Please don't come this way. This is freaking me out." And long story short, because it was so weird and these occurrences started happening like just daily, I finally found my way through by way of the man that I would later marry. He took me to a medium and helped me sort it out and get it to come to on my own terms, to learn. I studied with him a number of years, and and these are all gifts, like you say, like how can, like Rosita was sharing, you go like, the fact that something so like heart-wrenching, like depression, which is like just a micro movement away from suicidal tendencies, right? It's just like a slow, like a deadness. That's why I was dead in certain ways inside, or was trying to deaden myself. And the reason why, just to kind of bring this home, I would not trade a thing, not a thing that happened. The gift and the gift that revealed everything, the disconnections in my family, the lack of real heart nourishment that was there. There were good people that are trying to do what they needed to do. And the reason I'm saying all that is they wouldn't understand, they wouldn't want. In my family, they were pretty traditional, like Catholic and that kind of thing was how I was raised. And they did not, it was not okay to think about like the other world or people walking or talking to spirit guides, or let alone what Rosita said was so bold, her ancestors brought her there. Now I would say Chief Great White Eagle, who was the chief standing, he is my ancestors, and he's in my soul lineage, and as are many others that I would later even bring through as a medium. But that was not a conversation that anyone in my world, that I could have with anyone in my world, let alone the people I'm working in comedy with, which that was like fodder for cannon. It's like, and so I want to, and then I walked into worlds. We continued being an actor and had to kind of stuff the idea that I was a medium, or that these things were happening to me, trying not to, to share that. And now, full circle, in my very Facebook page are some of the casting directors and agents who still keep in touch with me, who I just go all out and I'm just saying all this stuff. And this is stuff I feared them knowing for so long. And it was so beautiful. Like, and they're all like, "Oh yeah, I remember you had this thing happen to you once and you shared that with me." And I'm like, "I did." So it's so beautiful that the very thing that I'm afraid, it wasn't even there. It was just like a shadow puppet, right? So I'm so glad. And this is the most meaningful work that has ever, like, my life is I am a better human for it. And the price was well worth it. And it wasn't even a price. I can't even call it a price. It's a gateway, a doorway.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for that. Thank you for your tears. Thank you for your comedy. And thank you for your wisdom. Yeah. Thank you, Lori. Yeah. Beautiful. And I want that to be inspiration also for everyone who feels misunderstood in their circle. But maybe you, me, I'm going to say me too, that not everybody I'm going to speak that I do ancestral healing. Not everybody understands. And I think it's very important for us to find out people who do understand and create a level of comfortable distance from those who don't need to, and bring ourselves out of that addiction, depression, whatever it is that may be holding you back. I want this. If nothing else you'll take out of this circle, I want this to be some level of permission for you So you can find your people. So whatever resources we may bring through this conversation and through follow-ups after this to help you, to help us connect, to help you connect to your people if it's not us, if it's somewhere else. But maybe it will spark that feeling, that emotion, that idea that, hey, there are people like me, there are people who understand. And I don't have to reject those who don't. I just can be okay with them living their life, and maybe they're relatives, and maybe they're friends, and maybe there will be some point they'll come and receive that as is. It's perfect as is. Me being understood by some and me being not understood by some is beautiful and perfect. Thank you for sharing that story, Lori. And by the way, if you see us doing that, that's the sisterhood sign. That's our sisterhood saying, "Hey, I hear your message. I support you. I'm sending you my energy, my love." So if at any point you feel that it's like maybe the celebration, this is an online world to do, you feel like doing that, just gives you some understanding of what's happening on the screen. Sandi, our wise wild woman, please share your story.
Oh, okay. Well, what you first asked was, did I ever expect to be here? Did I ever dream this? And, in that question, I thought, as a child, there wasn't room
Mm.
to dream what I wanted. I had to follow a certain pattern, a certain belief to fit my family. And so it took me a long time to actually open my eyes to my path. And the way I'm going to say that is because I look back now and I see I was always on it. I didn't realize it, but and it was in weird ways because it wasn't the way that I am now, but there was always a listening. And I know I had been told that I always listened to my guides, and I was always like, well, where are they? Because I sure don't hear them, and this life is crap right now, right? But honestly, I look back and some of the decisions I made were some just really off the wall things that I knew had to be done with, like with my children and my family. When I stepped out on my own, there was just stuff, even though I was stuck in the old patterns and the old beliefs, the defaults that I grew up with, I still was listening. So I'm very thankful for that. But what really did it is, like you guys said, and I think that's a lot of it, is the catalyst, the thing that is the moment that the coal is pressed so hard, it either crumbles or it turns into a diamond. And I think that's all of us have that beginning. Sometimes some are like so dramatic and others are really subtle, but they're still there and they're still strong in all of us. And that's what happened to me. And it wasn't that long ago that I actually was able to turn and look and visually see a path. And what happened was I was trying so hard to be exactly what I should be for everybody else that there was a situation in my life that was, of course, my fault. It was me. I had the problems. I was the one causing all these issues and trying to sit and I was just trying to figure it out. I had no um, no woman in my life that had been a trust. So I just had nowhere to go. And I had to take care of myself. And I was in this state of, how do I be this perfect wife and this perfect lover and this perfect this and this perfect that? And as I sat in that, just beating myself up, but at the same time, looking for ways to create it differently, right? And after, I'm going to say 40 something years of marriage, my spouse came to me and said, "It's not you, it's me. I have an addiction." And that was one of the biggest things, because there was a lot of stuff happening. The universe threw this at me and threw some work stuff at me that just said I was right in the wrong place. But at the same time, I brought it all in, was working it. And that one little thing, because there was something happening to me in my body. And instead of pushing it away and going, well, it's just me, just push it away and do whatever, right? My body was screaming and it was saying, absolutely not. You're not doing it this time. You're not doing these things, right? And so that's what I was trying to get over. And when that came, it was just like the huge window and a breeze came in. It was like, oh my gosh. And as much as that was devastating news, the revelation that it was never me in all these years was so lightened that it allowed me to turn and see my path for the first time. Because then I realized, wait a minute, I actually listened to my intuition. This is what they're talking about. And I did not push it away this time. I actually trusted it and listened to it. And because of that, it took me on quite a journey where I actually walked away from the life I had, because I knew I had to learn different stuff. And where I was sitting was not my responsibility. And I had spent 40 something years. And I knew this was a situation, but you know how we always poo-poo it. And it's like not as bad for me, and it's okay. And this is this, and this is that, and all the different excuses. But having that relief and knowing I could just walk away from it. And so I did. And I started on a journey of my own. And I was able to do a lot of healing. I'm still on that healing. I'm still working it. We all will be, won't we? But after a while, in the work I've done, I realized that I can come back. I can come back to my family. I just have to come back differently. And that's where I'm walking right now, is I'm actually walking right now differently with my family. It has caused quite some issues. There for a while, I was not accepted anymore in my parental family. And I was a lot of reasons. There was problems there. I was the goat, the scapegoat for a while. And it took me a while to get over that and realize it's just them. That's, and being able to step back and be okay with that now, the work I've done, because I can see them differently too. They were who they were, and because of how they grew up. And so I allow them back in now. And I say allow them because I have to open carefully when I go visit. But what's really nice is being able to release those old traumas, those, like we talk about the ancestral, I mean, all the way back, right? From here back, and being able to see our parents as consequences of what happened before that. And it just kind of rolls downhill. And so seeing that, it allows me to have more love in my heart for them. more gratitude for the stuff that I have been through so I can see it. And now it allows me to turn back and be who I want to be. I get to dream now. And so being 65, I'm going to say starting about 60 years old is when I started going, can I actually start dreaming? Can I actually think of things I might want to do? Is that allowed? And so I am. And one of my biggest dreams is I love the wilderness, and I love the woods, and I love the trees, and I love animals. Um and so yeah, I've put myself into a position of having a nice, beautiful valley with beautiful cedars. I call them my grandfather's cedars. And I'm building a community. And no, I didn't dream this. But you know what? I think I did. I think I did when I was a child. I'm sitting here going, I know I had dreams in my head while I slept where I was allowed to. I'm like, because I can turn around, I can see things and go, God, I remember this. I remember this. So thank you for letting me speak that. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your beautiful share, Sandy. What a magical thing to share. And as you are speaking, and then this is the beauty of women gathering together. Let me put like people gathering together, right? This is an all gender circle. This is not just for women. The reason for it is we are coming into the union. And before we really need the circles to be just women, and right now we're really coming into the union. But what I want to pick up from your share is that I didn't dream it, but maybe I did. These last words and this permission to give yourself. I'm going to ask the question from the chat. Kelly asked, what made you brave enough to announce your work to the world and to move beyond work with yourself into work beyond the inner landscape? I assume that's a question, Kelly, right? So what made you brave enough? And I'm going to rephrase this a little bit. What allowed you to give yourself permission to step into this, right? At some level, we were speaking that almost like I had no choice, like it was calling me, like the ship showed up in my in my room, it was just driving me crazy. Or the darkness of the moment, I was at the point of suicidal. I can attest that for myself. I was at the level of addiction and the level of depression when I probably didn't care for my life anymore at that time. And that was the turning point for me too. But that decided what gave you the bravery? Let me ask that question for each one of you. What fueled you in to step into this path? What gave you that push? Yeah, please, Lori. Well, who else showed up in your bedroom so you stepped in?
What's that? No, I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I went kind of kicking and screaming, even though beautiful stuff happened and all this. When I studied with the teacher at the end of a couple of years or whatever, he looked around the room and he said, there are two of you who will be doing this for a living. And he points to my then husband and I go, no, I'm an actor. He's a magician. We're not doing this, he's an acrobat. He's in a circus. No, we're not doing this. And within about a year or so, I mean, my husband became this like amazing trance medium. I was like, oh, that's what they meant. I'm just supposed to help Lawrence, become a medium, and I'll just organize things for him. And when we got divorced, and it was like perfect and everything. There was no real sadness. It was just the perfect point to do that. And then within a couple of years, within a year, I moved to a place where I thought there was enough acting. I was in Screen Actors Guild and they had an office there. So I said, oh, this would be great. Then pretty soon realized, oh, I there isn't enough work here to sustain me. And so I said, well, I do know how to do readings from the class. And I started doing that and then teaching psychic development. I learned all that from this teacher. And then and the first person who was my very first client, for like a paid reading, they're still friends. He and his wife are still friends of mine. And he wrote a book on consciousness and dedicated it to me because of the profound impact I had in his life. So he said, but the reason I say that is I was forced into it. I was like, oh, I'm here in the middle of nowhere. Like, I better do something. And then I for 8 years every week channeled, and I used to bring in lots of guides that would speak through me. I was a conscious channel. And the reason I say all this, like I'm adding all those details, is that it was like kicking and screaming. They had to kind of put me in the middle of nowhere to go like, okay, now what are you going to do? What's your next move? And, so, and then I was so upset. And by the way, this is just a little funny part to my story, was when I asked, I was in that same class with that trance medium teacher, amazing. And this guide came through and he goes, and they were talking about walk-ins. And I go, am I a walk-in? Because I was so different. Like when I changed, like my preferences, everything about me was different. And he goes away, he goes, one moment, please. And he goes, no. Because you have a board members make up a lorry. Chairman of board not doing such good job. We kick out to get new chair. So I was reorganized. And I thought the reason I say that is because everything was different. And I thought, externally, I thought I just all do the same thing I've always done. And it was everything gets taken away. Like, and it's like, now do you know which path? It's right there, So, and it is, I've never had a more meaningful vocation in my life. Vocation is the wrong word, but yeah, offering in my life. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
I had to laugh at my own resistance.
And thank you for the question, Cal, asking and then specifically putting in those words, it does take bravery. And I think that at some level, the point of conversation is to inspire that bravery, is to show that even though each one of us finds their own way, there is a way. And it may be unknown yet, right? But there is a way. And I'm gonna keep asking questions. I love having questions from the chat, but I want to come back to the first question. And the second part of that question was, how did your relationship with yourself and with the world around you shift after stepping onto this path? After saying fully yes and starting to trust your intuition, after remembering, as Sandi said, that was the original dream, and I'm now coming back to it. What changed for you?
Well, I can speak to that so one of the things that came to mind when you asked that was when I stepped back into like my relationships, I knew I could have them. I just knew I had to do it differently. And I find that now that I have been walking in these relationships, just me paying attention and doing things differently, holding my boundaries, pulling that unconditional love, really trying to look at perspectives. Gently, I find people around me are not so combative. At first they kind of were, because I wasn't who they thought I should be. But when I stayed in that value of what I wanted to be and how I wanted to be, thank you, Lori. I love that. But if I could find the value, right, of what my core values were, my top core values, if I could just stay in those when I'm in conversation, whether it's conflict or not, as long as I can walk that, I'm the ripples. And I know there's a lot of ripples I don't see and might come back later, but I'm now trusting the ripples. If I can stay within my value and be who I want to be and not default back into some old way, dysfunctional, toxic way of being or communicating, or it ripples out. And I see it in my folks, you know. I know they don't have the capacity to be the parents I would like to have had them be, but I also see them trying now in what capacity they are at. You know, is it still frustrating? Of course it is. But I can see it now. And that little ripple allows me now to walk into their home and sit down and have a visit. And we all leave smiling. Okay. So that to me is a ripple. Why was I brave enough to do that? Because I was already the black sheep. I was already the one that was causing all the problems in their stories, right? So what's the worst that could happen? They're going to say I'm crazy now? Okay, I'm crazy. I'll accept it. Crazy's interesting. Crazy's fun, right?
It is fun.
I don't want to be normal. So that's how I play it now. And I play it, and one of my biggest things now is fun. I want to have fun. And so I try to hold that value when I'm with other people too. And in doing that, I feel the ripple. Okay, here's a ripple. I'm actually in a relationship with my husband now, again. And I'm doing it differently. It is a struggle, but I'm doing it differently. And I feel that ripple, it affects, because he is doing things differently. Is he doing everything I'd like him to do? No, but he's doing his thing, and he's doing it, and he's working it. And so I have to sit back and be patient. But the work that if I can stay in this value, it just ripples out. So that's kind of where I like to sit, and you know, what made me brave enough. I'm going to say the core of it was what I call sacred rage. I have a colleague that's one of our terms we came up with, and she's here today. So I love that. But we talked about sacred rage, because, you know, we're not supposed to always be mean and angry, and we got to come through love. But there's a time, not just blowing anger or stomping or reactions, but there's a time that you have to bring that sacred rage. And that's what we call it. It's like, it's got to come up enough to say, okay, I'm done. I got to do something. And so, yeah.
Bring it up. Yeah. It's not just the nice girl, the good girl in me that gets to play. It's also the other parts that show up and have a say and get integrated and embodied and owned, right? And yeah, I really want to thank you for bringing that part between I try to fit in versus so what? So what? I am crazy. So what? I am the black sheep. I'll own it. They think it already. Now it's my time to own it. And I think that may be the give yourself permission to be who you are. Try to stop feeding some other box that people are projecting on you. And another point I want to mark also that you mentioned, when we change, when we do the work, everything changes. People around us act differently. We don't have to try to change others. We just stay our ground. We get centered, we get grounded, we get connected. We stop denying what we are. We stop saying, no, I'm not. Stop being ashamed, right? And everything around us shifts, turnarounds. We are so interconnected. We are so woven into the tapestry of life. Yeah, thank you.
I want to thank Sandi for passing the baton, because it's really about the question that I had, why I was so angry, why this anger just, overwhelmed me. And I knew at that moment that I had a choice. So being brave was about knowing that you have a choice and becoming conscious of that. Because if you want to change something in your life, you want to change, you have to investigate where things are coming from, where your feeling is coming from. So what shifted for me is actually the choice and seeing the field of possibilities opening up. And when I saw that happen, I tried to see which of the possibilities is my next door, which I could step through to step inside of me and to get to know me and to be curious enough to want to know me. And actually, the longing for freedom that I felt, although the imprisonment that I felt was not visible for the outside world or in the outside world, but I felt it inside. And I had a strong longing for freedom. As a woman, as a Black woman, as a child of these parents, as somebody who reflected into the world that I had a choice and I needed to investigate the baton that I needed to give to the world, to the next generations. So I felt it was a privilege. At the same time, I felt the heaviness from it. But I knew I had to do this. I was born to do this. I was chosen to do this, and I had to make this choice. That is how it felt for me. Thank you, Lori, for so much firework. I love you.
Lori is on fire today. Celebrating and celebrating you, Rosita. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for bringing the words of choice into this conversation. That's such a powerful, empowering thing. And one more thing to notice, as you said, I am, and you used the other word, but I'm paving the path for the next generations. My freedom means the freedom of the next generations. If I get to step on it, I'm showing that it's a possible way to do. And I'm using my willpower to make a choice. And that choice opens up possibilities for the next ones to come. I get to shine the light. I get to be the one. I'm not just doing it for myself. And I think that's an important part, especially for women. I may not speak for what it is for men. I know there's a different struggle there as well. But for women to stand in and do the things that feels like I'm doing it for myself is so difficult. Exactly. We've been trained for centuries not to. We've been trained for centuries to think of others first and be socially approved for it. That's right. It's good mother, think of her children first. But when she's exhausted, when she doesn't have the force anymore, when she doesn't care for herself, when there is no recurring flow of this exchange, what can I give if I don't have anything? Exactly. And there is I'm not just doing it for me. I'm doing it to shine the light for others too. I'm stepping in my truth to show that there is a possibility for that. Go ahead, Lori. The other way, unmute.
I was struck, sorry. I was struck when I was listening, well, to all three of you just now, that when we were talked about the resistance, particularly Sandy's story, when she's saying about the resistance in the next generation, or when you dare to speak the truth about what's happening, or, toxic dynamics or whatever it is, even if you're not trying to sell them on it, just like even standing in your own truth can feel like an affront to people who want to toe the party line, right? Or whatever it is. And I was struck by the fact that, and this is the work you do, Vika, and you too, Rosita, about the ancestral piece, which is literally we're going to be the scapegoat, but we're also the catalyst for the change, and that everything in them that resists us is actually just their own. It's like their own buy-in to a system that never fed them, that ever and it's a fear of sort of the new, like we're shifting the bloodline, like by making a different choice, we shift, like you say, for future generations. Like I think the Native American people say 7 back, 7 forward is what we're healing when we heal ourselves. And that to me is fascinating. I didn't ever put it together that way, where I realized that all of the resistance I even experienced from my family, I was actually excommunicated from my family at large because of my choices with the psychic stuff, and also coming out about what was happening and the truth of what happened in my childhood. And why I say that is that it was them protecting themselves even from truths that they couldn't handle. I know why they were the way. I know some of my mother's story, my aunt's story, why they were the way they were, and why they needed to just keep the biggest lid ever on that, because it threatened to overturn every life as they know it. And when we become the linchpin for that, or the focal point, right? It's huge. So I didn't get it until I was listening to Sandy. I was thinking, oh yeah, I felt like it was something about me, that I just wasn't one of them. I'm not whatever, wired the same way. I'm and now I'm the outcast or the black sheep or whatever. And that I realized is I was holding the part of them that, once I sat and I was okay with the truth about what had happened, and I don't need them to even subscribe, everything seemed to be, in other words, it wasn't as, the few times that I would later interact with them, which was not too frequent later, but it was like, it seemed like they, like it was less of a thing, even though I had moved the needle by what I went through, the work I went through, whether they ever knew piece by piece what that work was or what I uncovered for myself. They may not have known all the details, but they were moved and changed. We share DNA, it ripples, right? I don't know. So it may be like I may be Captain Obvious here, but it just really struck me deeply when listening to your stories.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think it's important part of the journey. It's the part of the journey when gets us sometimes to stop, to doubt ourselves, to not go further, because it's so easy to kind of put the blame on yourself and feel and keep yourself invisible because maybe they don't need it. Maybe I'm going against the things, and there's this also need for belonging that is so survival and so strong that there is a tendency to betray yourself in exchange for belonging. We do that. We do that a lot. And it's important to move every step with the gratitude. And there's one more thing I want to also share from my work, working with the generational patterns, is that what seems on the surface is often not what's going on the soul level. As on the surface, you may be projected on, and on the soul level, you are celebrated because you are unlocking the family burden for many generations to feel. And how terrible would it be for a parent to know that the next generation, I couldn't heal it, I couldn't fix it, and the next one after me is inheriting it. And they also will be falling into addiction. They also will be falling into depression. They also will be doing the self-blame and self-neglect and self-violence, ignoring their own needs. And how much I wish they didn't. How much I wish I stopped that, or I empowered them to stop it for them, so they didn't have to. There's no parent whose soul is wishing for their children to suffer in the same way. So when we get that projection, and when we project, right, we don't always project because, hey, just be like me. It's like, this is a safe way. This is a safe way. I want you to be safe, even though it may limit you, but I want you to feel safe. And this is so strong in me, right? But I also very much want you to be happy. So whatever happy is for you, please do that.
Say something, Vika, because I believe that each and every one who is here now has the purpose of resolving ancestral trauma, right? And we get this purpose in a very mixed bag. So everything that we encounter is a part of either our experience that we need to learn from, and also things that need to be resolved, and yet not to transfer to the next generations, because resolving a resolution is one of the things that we came to do. But we are also the future ancestors. So if we want to change the game, we have to look at the cards that we chose before we came. The cards that handed over to us, because we are the ones who can deal with those cards. Look at those cards. Look at what is yours, and look what needs to be moved out, so that the next generations indeed don't have to go through the cycles that we need to go through now. And we are in the best time to do this. So we have this responsibility, and we are chosen, and we chose to be born in this time, reach the level of consciousness that we have now to do the work that we are able to do. Mm-hmm. So thank you all for being here today.
Yeah. Thanks to everyone who is here. Guys, you said yes to this. Thank you so much. I just want to say that we are honoring you all, each one of you who is present in this room, each one of you who is watching this on the replay. Thank you. Truly, thank you for being part of this. This is a community. None of us is doing this work on our own. We tried. And it's difficult. It's important that we come. And I think before I ask the next question, and my next question is going to be about the community, so I don't lose the thought, I'm going to tell you that. But I want to bring up what Rosita was just sharing, is this, what we are lacking, right? We are lacking for everyone, and there's a support, and we're not just inheriting the hard parts, right? The burdens. We're also inheriting all the strength in our generations. It is our choice. Glory on fire. She says yes to that. It is our choice that decides. It is our free will that decides which part we say yes to and which part we say stop, enough. I'll do it differently. Thank you. I see you. I honor you. I honor your path. I honor your choices. I'm not going to break or violate you or deny you of belonging to this family. I'm not going to say that because you did this choice, you're not part of my story. You are. I chose you. I chose my full lineage with all the bads and all the goods. And I choose to take the goods and leave the bads behind. That is my choice. That is my power as the part of this lineage. And I'm choosing that. And that's coming back to this choice. And that's when we do heal, right? We don't just remove the luggage and leave the shadow behind. We look into the shadow, we find the gold and take the gold and claim it. I claim it, and the rest, thank you, I'll leave it. And the next part the next question I want to bring to you, I would love to hear what community meant for you in this process? What role it played for you? Yeah.
I'll speak up because it was very strong. I've always been a lone wolf. I've always done it myself. Um, I've walked through a life of women that were betrayed. I just was betrayed left and right. So when I started my path, it was really hard because I did not have the trust that um, to go find somebody to help me because I just didn't trust anybody. And so I had to do some of my own researches. And slowly, what I found is I did have to reach out and take some chances. The first community I joined, I always tell people it was the worst. It was the worst time of my life. It was so bad. It was so, but here's the thing. It was so good for me because what happened is as I stepped into this community of women, I just triggers, boom, 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 all these things, just like Lori's fireworks, right? And there it was that what I was saying, I started hearing and listening because my instinct or my default instinct was, oh, just get these girls, just be done. These girls are nothing but whatever you want to call them. But the intuition in me said, no, this is you. You have got to sit here and sit in this and figure it out. So it was so hard, but yet it was the best thing that happened to me. Right. And so in doing that, I learned how to trust women again. And I think the big thing was in community, when I was able to be with other women of the same mindset, right? They still had the same fears. They were worried about saying the wrong things. But in that little community, we agreed that we could talk, we could say things. And if you had a reaction, you had to not respond. You could come back later with something, but you had to sit with it. And so we learned to trust. And in doing so, and there was women that I actually still would not be friends with because I could see those were not people that I would, I started learning how to hold boundaries with women. Let's just say that in community, I was able to sit people, I was able to see other women, and that gave me grace also in seeing myself when somebody else was talking and sharing and going on about something that they were working on without somebody pointing at me and going, hey, you need to work on that too. I was able to see it with grace and go, oh, I think that's me. Wow, look at that sister working on that. I could probably do that too. I'm not the only one, right? And so many times we'll ask because we don't want to ask a question because, oh, it's such a stupid question. Nobody's going to want to hear my question. But then in community, in the right community, and I'm going to say that in the right communities, you have the opportunity to practice starting to speak. You get to practice trusting because sometimes things do fall through, but you get to practice it. And slowly, I realized that all this work I've been doing by myself, I haven't been. I have been doing it with this community of women and being able to sit with them, watch them go through things. It really is a mirrors. They're just mirrors for me now. And I can look at that. And if anybody upsets me, I love that now because I mean, I don't like to be upset. Don't get me wrong. At the same time, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Is that something that, did they mean that? No, that's just me. There's something, there it is, right? And then like you talked about is us being in standing in this time right now for all those electrical currents, right? We're the conduit that has to bring it out and bring it into a different energy, right? Just like we do with electricity, how we have to bring it into the house and we have to change the current and bring it all down. I feel that the women of today are working through all of this betrayal and trust and wounds so we can stand in that converter, right? Because we have to stand in that converter and actually take all of that, like you said, Vika, and transform it into a different energy so it's softer for our generations coming after us. They still have work. We're going to have work. You know, we're all going to be working the rest until, you know, well, we'll just be continuing. I believe that at least. And so I feel that if we can do that, that will help us, the newer generation, have less ancestral work to do so they can put their efforts into our new 5D world that is coming forward, right? There's a change happening, and we need those energies to not be so burdened. So here we are, taking that burden, transforming it, and it's hard work. But I loved what Rosita said. We're doing this. Yeah, we're doing it for us, right? Because it feels good to do it for us. It feels the freedom, but who are we really doing it for, right? Because we got to do the hard work. Somebody's got to start somewhere. And if in your line someone hasn't started, it's you. It's you.
Oh, thank you, sister. Thank you, wise woman. What a wisdom to share. When you upset me, thank you. Let's go into that trigger, right? That's because the truth is, it is the mirror. We are the mirrors of each other. If I don't have that in me, why would I get upset? I wouldn't care, right? So you're showing me something in me that I get now to heal. You are gifting me the awareness about me that I was blinded to. And now you're giving me that gift. And now the next generations is going to, as you said, creation, right? This healing, healing, healing. Let's heal, let's heal, let's heal. And then now let's create. From that point, we get to create the reality we want, we dreamed of. We get to give ourselves permission to dream again. How many of us forgot what it's like to dream? It's like to be in that mode of creativity when things just come into manifestation, right? We speak so much about manifesting life, but what is the point we're manifesting from? Am I manifesting from fear? Am I manifesting from that wisdom that Sandi just shared? From that, I am in the mirror and people around me are the mirrors. Thank you so much for that. Please, Rosita.
This is so beautiful, Sandi. Thank you so much for sharing that. Because what is our biggest classroom where we start in? Our biggest classroom is our family. That is our first community, right? That is showing up all these themes that are just projecting upon us and are just triggering us to know that we're going to bring that to the outside world to even more mirroring so that we can work on that. Mm-hmm. So this first classroom is what actually triggered me. Exactly what Sandi was saying, not trusting, betrayal. Everything that could happen was a secondary trauma that I'm getting from my mother and all the women that surrounded her and all the jealousy and the betrayal and the sucking dry of her energy. And that traumatized me on a second degree, but it also awakened me and also got me into the experiences that I needed to look into what is actually the real problem. And my mother did not trust herself, did not acknowledge her own leadership, did not acknowledge her own power, because it was taught to her to find everything outside of her. Everything outside of her was more important than her. And that was also a lesson that I had to learn. I had to go through all the motions to learn, to see, and attracting all those women and men underlying those teams. I had to learn the hard way in order to grow and even find that love inside of me that was buried so deep that if I could not find that love, I was not going to be able to do the work that I'm doing today, because you need a lot of integrity to hold space for people to go through their darkest night of the soul, because you have to go through your own darkest night of the soul in order to find the light, because you are it. And guess what? The light is not showing up in light. It's showing up in the darkness. So you have to go through that in order to find yourself, which my mother did not find, but she handed the baton to me that I was the one. And later, my brother even told me that my grandmother pointed out to me that I was the one that held the key.
Mm.
And the responsibility that I had to break the cycles that was going on for women, generation after generation of betrayal that I needed to face in my own life and transform it with so much love that I didn't know I had inside of me. But that was the way to find out that that love was inside of me. And there was nothing that was going to break that. So that is the love that I transform towards my circles, towards other women, to show them who all have encountered betrayal, jealousy from their own first communities of family, sisters, aunts, fathers, you name it. We just cut them down and just sucked them dry. So they lost trust in everyone in life, everyone who they encountered, to really learn that they had to transform it from them. The trust was already there, but it was buried. It was buried. So helping people peel it back, digging up themselves from the dirt and holding space like Sandi is doing beautifully as a midwife. Love you, Sandi. Or holding space in that way, finding your own nature and your talent and all your creativity back again to put into this world and create a more beautiful world, because that's what we came to do. Ashe.
Thank you, Rosita, for this beauty that you just shared with all of us. And the question that came to me is, like we spent this famous man's search for purpose. What's my life purpose? What's my life purpose? What if trusting yourself is your life purpose?
Oh my God.
Right? What if that unlocks generations before and after you? What if that changes thousands of lives? Think about just 3 generations next to you. That's hundreds of lives. And people that around them, their partners, their friends, their co-workers, their community members. That's thousands. 3 generations back, 3 generations forward, ripple it and then ripple it through. That's why they're saying, like, when what is it, when butterfly swings the wings in San Francisco, there's the tsunami in Japan,
Yeah.
right? How big is that? What's in the highest good for me is in the highest good in everyone. What happens, what communities we build if we trust in that? What's good for me is good for everyone. And not good in terms of like the selfish way that I'm gonna go in and just give myself an extra ice cream kind of way, right? But what if I trust my yes? And what if I trust my no? What if my no is the biggest gift for everyone around me?
I'd like to add to, oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Because what you said, what is your purpose? Everybody, I feel that when we first start looking, because we have lived in the 3D world for so long, our purpose is a thing or something tangible that we can see, right? So I want to ask, what if your purpose isn't a thing? What if your purpose is just to be authentically yourself? Because in doing that, every moment you spend doing that is the purpose. Maybe you need to be bending down and picking up an orange and that dropped out of some old lady's basket. That could be your purpose that moment. Maybe your purpose some other moment. So my question is do we really have a purpose that's like something that's just a big thing that you can sit down and go, that's it? Or is it just like you said, Vika, trusting that just being our authentic self is enough? And that purpose, every day, what we do as we choose is our purpose. And that's the ripple.
And that's the ripple.
And that's the ripple.
Guys, thank you so much. We may continue this conversation a little bit longer, but I want to honor that we are a little bit over an hour, and I have a little surprise. I didn't even tell the hosts, just so I don't tell them yet. But I do have a little bit of surprise. I wanna say thank you to everyone who showed up, who is watching that. I am hosting a workshop next week. And it's a deep dive into the subconscious, into the ancestral healing work, into the family constellations, if you're familiar with that modality. If not, it's working with looking into what's holding us back. And I want to invite you all. And as a thank you for all of you being here, I want to give you the 30% coupon to that workshop. So that's my whole sales speech. It's not really say it. Continue. That's an invitation. If you want to dive deeper into this, I'm gonna post a link and I'm gonna share this invitation. I'm gonna post the coupon, and that you're not gonna find that discount actually anywhere else. So just use it. Share it with your friends if that speaks to you. I would love to spread this work around the world. And if you liked any of our hosts, we'll make sure that you can find them too. So we'll post the links where you can find the work and listen to Channeling from Lori and get maybe an experience with Sandi, get to know her work, get into Rosita's work and get a discovery call one-on-one with Rosita. Each one of these amazing women is sharing their gifts. That's what we're here to do. That's what brings us joy. That's in the highest good of me and everyone. So stay connected. I really want, and if there's something you want to share with us as well, put it in the chat. We want to know you. Where are you guys at? What's your Instagram? What's your Facebook? What's your social media? Wherever you are, we want to know our people. We want to know our tribe. And ladies, I invite you to share the links as well, where we can find you. Is there a Facebook group? If there's anything you want to share, just go ahead and share that while we are together, while we have time to connect. I'm gonna put the Facebook group as well, where you can find the ancestral healing work. But Yeah, bring on, bring it on. Let's connect. Let's make sure there's opportunity for us to stay in touch. And we do have time for a question. I feel like if you need to check out at this point, let us know. But if you have time to stay for just a little bit, I actually have a really interesting question to ask and offer to reflect on. And that question just been shared a few hours later in a summit from Mind Valley. If anybody's heard of it and anybody is connected to that. And that's the question to leave as reflection. If you were the hero in your movie of the dream, what is that thing that the audience would be screaming at you right now? You know how you're watching the movie and this hero is like, come on, just wake up, just do it, just do that thing. Why aren't you seeing it? Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you seeing your gifts, right? And that's like from the back, it's so obvious from the outside, but the hero is just like numb or denying, rejecting, not brave enough, or like waiting for some moment. What is that thing? If you are in that movie and you're the hero, what is that thing that the audience of that movie would be willing to scream at you behind the screen, right? What is it? What is it? That's my invitation to reflect for you. If you want to put it in the chat, do it. If you want to raise your hand and share with you, if you ladies want to share a little bit of that moment, or maybe something else came up, maybe some insight came up as we were sharing and speaking. What is it? What is that final word?
Were you speaking to us, the panel, or were you speaking? Oh, I had something really cool came up, and it's kind of very much in my lane, but it applies to the whole discussion that ensued just prior to you making your announcement, which was I realized that, when we talked about you don't know your value, we all go through not, in systems of the family that sort of either negate, don't see us, whatever, negate who we are, don't have a space to hold what we are, or, all the. And what I realize is as a medium, as an empath, so any of you who are empaths, this will be really important to know is that, is that as an empath, it's a bit like when you try to describe water to a fish, the fish goes, what water? You don't know what you're bringing to the table. And when you asked like that question about what role do groups play? And this is what led me to that awareness about being an empath. I had no idea. I couldn't see or feel myself from outside. I would just like show up in it. And I had no idea that I had any, even when I'm actively working as a psychic and meeting people are showing up in groups, I had no idea that I'm bringing any game, so to speak. Like I didn't really have a measure for that because it was elusive. And it's a bit like, how as a female too, the divine feminine it's the unmanifest, right? It's this potency, it's this, fertile void, right? And so that's what intuition and psychic gifts and so forth, because they're receptive, like the muscles you need to develop in order to receive psychic awareness, or some of you are just born with it, like right out of the gate, like where it's like significant, right? Like where people can notice, like they'll go, yeah, she's the mystical child or whatever. And but some of us, like for me, I had to actually like learn how again to be receptive. And when I did this, it's just like water to a fish. When you're in that zone, particularly like if you're like channeling, like I was doing for years, it doesn't seem like you're doing anything. When you're in that frequency, you're just doing what's there. It's what's on the menu up there, and that's. And so I remember like having this experience, like it would be so profound to other people. They'd go, "Oh my God, that thing that was it." I'm like, really? It was profound, like I had no barometer. And so that's also when we're in those, when I was in different groups, when you said, well, what role did these different groups play? or community is the word you said. It was various ones, and they got progressively less constrictive. So some of them were just focused on pain, like when I was in recovery, like, oh yeah, I'm this and I'm a rotten so and so because I've been doing this behavior forever. And then eventually, like working my way to where I was with women who were other mediums, like amazing ones. Like one of them, her clientele were like the Kennedys, like with that. And I was like, wow, like, and then it took me a long time, like years being friends with her to go, oh, she considers me a contemporary. What does that mean? Like, or whatever. Not that, the Kennedys are the barometer for all things, but anyway, so that I wanted to put that out there for those of you who have mystical or like, have, even like clairsentience where you don't even know it. It's in your body. You're feeling certain things. You're aware of truths. You can feel the truth. You can feel when someone's lying. You can feel when there's, a being in the room or, that kind of thing. So the point there is that that's like super, that is one of the most the domains I feel where it's so easy to discount yourself and also go, oh, other people are psychic or they're mystical or like these magical ladies, like, oh, they went through these, our panel here, they all went through their various like extreme things. I didn't do that. I just, I was, vanilla, whatever. And I think it's important to if you're not in something, in some kind of modality that directly reflects to you, where you can do like something formulaic, where you unpack things like in an ancestral alchemy, or you have a lady who midwives you, there is Sandi, and you to unpack that in such a way to where you have a quantifiable, qualifiable experience of your gifts and what you're bringing to the table, because that can elude us all. And yeah, so so there. Oh, and I teach that. Did I mention that? I do teach psychic development. So.
She does. Go learn psychic development from Lori. Here you go. I'm sure there's a link somewhere over there. By the way, guys, if you want to save the chat, if you're not sure how to do that, there are three dots on the top right corner. You click on it, you click on save chat, and everything copies for you. So you don't have to kind of like copy paste it right now. Yeah.
Okay, so the question is if I were my own hero in my story, if I was watching my story, what would I scream at my hero? Is that it?
If you were the hero, what the audience would be screaming at you?
Oh, what would this audience be screaming at me? Oh my gosh. Yeah, boy, there's probably they'd probably be screaming, get that hamster wheel out of your head. Why are you overthinking? Right? Why just take care of it? Just get down in that crazy. Why are you overthinking it? Right? And I think that's probably it. It's like, just let yourself go. I think that's what they'd be screaming because, I still, like I said, I want to be that, just to be whatever it is I want to be when I want to be it. And sometimes that seems to be like a crazy person or what might have been passed as a woman. I'm thinking, boy, I sure wouldn't have wanted to been back in that age where, you flipped out and they sent you to a psychiatric ward, right? Because, I bet they were very fun in those wards. I bet those women were awesome, And so, yeah, I think people would just be screaming at me. It's like, let it go. Quit running that hamster wheel.
I feel like it's a lot of movies that people will be like, just let it go already. Just please. I know what I would be screaming. That I would be like, I think the other version of that question is, what would you say? What do you scream at your younger self, right? To kind of go into like, and that would be one of mine for sure. Just just do it. Just
What
let it
would
go. Just stop worrying about it. Just go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, my younger self would have said to my younger self, I would have said, you know what other people think of you isn't your business. What you think of yourself is the power.
Wow, Sandi. Thank you for handing that over. Because what I would say to my younger self, are you scared? Do it anyway. Do it anyway. And they would scream at me, we want more. We want more of your authenticity. We want more of the wisdom that comes through you. We want more of knowing, reflecting who we are. We want more healing. We want more freedom. We want more of everything that our ancestors left for us, that we are here ready to expand, evolve, grow even bigger, because the world needs that. It's what you said, Vika. It's not only about all the trouble and all the pain, it's also about all the gold. It's about all the gifts that come with that, and that we are ready to evolve. And I do find it's not about leaving behind, it's about transforming. Because when you transform something, it doesn't come back. If you leave it behind, it might walk behind you in a still way to still grab you and bite you in the butt. So that is the difference that we need to make. Things should not bite us in the butt anymore. We should lovingly look into the eye and say, thank you for what you have taught me. And I'm letting you go in love so that you can walk your own way and transform what you came to do for me. And that's the difference. We have to make a difference with looking everything into the eye and take the responsibility that we have the power and we want more. Not by having it, but to work with it and help everybody else to find that power, so that the world can be a powerful, transformative place of evolving, and that every ET can say, oh, they're finally on track. They're not behind anymore. They're not walking back anymore. They can finally walk forward. That is what we have to do now. Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you, ladies. That was beautiful. Let me just check if we have any questions in the chat. Shadow in your sexual realm. That's an interesting one. Katie, do messages. Well, message me directly, and I'll direct you to the right place. How about that? There's more of us. It's just four of us on the screen right now. There's more of us in the community. It's definitely we'll find you the right person. And specifically, just if you ask you a few details of exactly what you're looking for and what is your background. Yeah, the world is a transformative place. We are where we all evolving. Exactly. Thank you so much for that. Beautiful, beautiful conversation. If any of you wants to come up and unmute yourself and speak, I welcome that too. We have a few minutes until we will let these beautiful wise women go back to their work, to their families, to their things in the world. Yeah, just start playing music. Laura, it's your time. Hey, sister, soul sister. Go, sister. Woohoo! Yeah, that's how just having fun. It's healing is not just about talking about the burdens and the trauma and the depression and the addictions, right? It's playful. Let's make it playful. Let's make it fun. It's creative. It's creative flow. It's creative work. We get to be embodied, to be in the power through all this process. So that's maybe Linda, please. I see you. I see your hand. Go ahead.
So yeah, I was not sure what to share, but first of all, I want to thank everyone for their stories and for sharing. And I must say, yeah, it made me very emotional, and I recognize how many, yeah. There was a lot that resonated with me, and I recognized, and I think that's definitely something what you experience when you are in a group like this. And to be honest, and for me, it has been difficult to join groups like this. That's why, Sandy, what you told me, like, oh, you went to communities and then you were there and was like, oh, that's not for me. Well, I totally get that. You know, I have been doing that, yeah, ever since. And last week at the moment, I'm doing the Divine Direction course or workshop. And that was already for me, yeah, I'm feeling uncomfortable, I noticed in the beginning. And instead of like pushing everything away, I just sat with it in silence. There was no need to make a story about it or to share. And so that was a good turning point for me. And so, yeah, I'm starting to feel more comfortable in groups and also understanding exactly that, yeah, it's showing me something that I may look at, you know, there's something still to be transformed. So yeah, and that's a gift, you know, I can grow from there again. And it's really nice to share with other women, because in my environment there is really no one where I can go through. And so I have been doing this journey most of the time all by myself. And so yeah, I'm really grateful to that I allowed myself to join this group. And Rosita, thank you very much for inviting me to all these things. And you know, I honor myself that I was at some point brave enough to just do it. So thank you all.
Thank you, Linda. Celebrating your bravery. It's celebrating, honoring. Thank you for speaking your voice, showing yourself. It's such a pleasure to see you. Such a pleasure to receive feedback from you and just welcome you into, come in, let's do this together. You're not alone.
Well done, Linda. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And, you know, that's part of this, right? Is noticing that we're uncomfortable and still allowing ourselves to sit there, like you said, without story. That's the big one. Get rid of the story and be able to sit and just notice the uncomfortableness and then go deeper. Is where am I feeling this, right? And then taking it with you and using that uncomfortableness to find something that's that wound. Why am I uncomfortable? So yeah, bravo to you, because that is a hard one. That is so hard to sit in that uncomfortable feeling without us wanting to run and jump and or whatever it is we do to avoid it. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's send some love to Linda. Thank you, Linda. Amazing.
Linda, that was brave.
Thank you so
Very
much.
brave.
Woohoo! Celebrating your sister. Thank you. All right, I see some hands. Kelly, you want to come in?
I'd love to. First, I want to say thank you. I was thrilled that I was able to make this meeting today, and it just popped up on a group I follow on Facebook. And I've been, in my own struggle of how do I put myself out in the world, and am I seen, and will I be received? Can you hear?
You're freezing a little bit on us. And I think now we lost you.
If you turn off your video, we might be able to hear you.
My voice.
Still a little frozen. Yeah, and try turning off your camera. See if that helps. You hear a little bit? Just a little zzz, zzz, zzz. Little bit sound.
She transformed so much that she was morphing out of the
It's in you well. We'll catch up with you soon. We'll be there.
Wait, there she is, kind of. Wait, what
Yeah.
happened there?
There was a little bit of movement.
Oh,
Oh, wait just for a second. 3, 2, 1. Well,
she ascended.
She's ascended now. Let's send some love to Kelly anyway. Let's send some love to you, woman. Thank you so much. You're awesome. Thank you for speaking. I saw a lot of your messages as well.
Yeah. Maybe you can write it.
Did we do it? Did the love do it? Let's see.
Wait.
All right. I'm gonna come back to you maybe in a minute after we take another one. I see Katya is here. Katya, come in, please, sister.
I would like to underscore what I consider the main teaching of today by speaking it once more, and that is, I am grateful for any access as my pointer to my shadow material.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Katya. Appreciate you. Celebrate you, sister.
Sandy, that was an awesome nugget too. It was very good.
Golden nugget. She's coming to give us the golden nugget of the conversation. Yay. Thank you, Katya. All right. Kelly, I see you back. Are you back? You want to try it one more time?
Yeah, I'll try. My internet is apparently slow. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for hosting this nourishing conversation. I'm struggling with coming out and feeling received, and it's so funny that even when I try and speak, all of a sudden my internet cuts out and no one can hear me. I've been putting myself out there just in recently. I've been hosting drum journeys, which is only a very small part of my work, but I don't even know how to introduce people to what I do because it's something I've never heard of. And it's incredibly supportive to view women with, all sorts of different talents and gifts, because it helps me to see that there, is a way, even if it feels really overwhelming in this moment. And I've actually, when you asked that question, Vika, in the beginning, I have known since I was really young that I was different and that I needed to do something. Before I had a concept of healing, I already knew I would hold space for it, but I don't own land yet. And so it's been this really long journey of discovering how I even do what I feel called to do in the world, in the physical 3D realm. Whereas the imagination, the dreams, and the spiritual calling has been very loud. The support, and when I do show up in the world, has been very quiet. And so, yeah, just continuing to receive nourishment from spaces like this, and happy to open the conversation and hoping that it leads to more. And I love what you said about finding your people, because that's a lot of my prayers, is to find mentors and my people. So just hoping for more of that too. Thank you.
Thank you, woman. Celebrating you. Here you go. Receive the support. Receive the support from all of us. Take it in. Thank you for speaking up. It's drum journeys. Wow. Awesome. Amazing. Hope you got some of the links here. Hope you get it. You stay in touch. We'll connect. We'll bring the people together. Some of us have land. Who knows? I'm not gonna speak who it is, but we have some resources. Some of us have spaces. Some of us have online communities. Let's share. It's all there. Let's grow together. Let's be together. I would like to, collaborate, bring it all in. Let's talk. Let's talk. You got the DMs, you got the Facebook pages. Thank you so much. So glad that you're scared, dude, anyway, right? Is that what we said, Rosita? Yeah, internet agrees with you now. Let's see, like you're not disappearing now. You're here with us. We can hear you. We can see you. It's all here. To your bravery, celebrating your bravery. Yay.
Can I give a little advice for Callie? Start to be, so that you can do, so that you can have. Transform the hoping into having by being first, so that you can put the action in and will have everything that you need to bring your work into this world. Because we need you. We need you.
Where do you live, Callie?
Did we lose it? Callie?
You got it.
Okay, this question is hilarious for me because I'm not homeless, but I feel homeless, and I live like everywhere. But I'm in Colorado and I don't feel homeless also. It's like this magic. I'm always held by place and space, but I do travel a lot. And so I'm between Paonia, Carbondale, Crestone, really beautiful places. I welcome people to come visit me because there's some magic, sacred waters around here, and lots of beautiful things happening. But yeah, I'm so willing to travel, and it's obviously part of my just essence. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Callie?
No, what you had there to offer, and you were talking about land. I have invitations open for people for my community here, and I'm looking for healers. And you spoke about speaking to plants, and that really intrigued me because that's one of my missions here is I'm actually working in that right now on my grounds. So
Stay in touch. Stay in touch.
yes.
Get the DMs. Yeah, beautiful connections. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. That's how magic happens. Woohoo! All right, everyone. I think we got enough of your Sunday time. Thank you so much for joining this. This really poured honey into my soul. Yeah, so beautiful to see you. I'm gonna just take us on all from the spotlight so we can see you. We can see you all in a circle. Here you are. Here you all. Thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to journey with you. It is such a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for tuning in. And I hope we stay in touch, we stay connected, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Love.